Hello and welcome to the Alabama Renaissance Fair channel. Today, stay tuned to find out how we became one of the longest running all-volunteer fairs in the world. If you are new to the fair, just starting out, or volunteer another fair, watch till the end because our experiences could help you as well. Hello and welcome to the Alabama Renaissance Fair channel. I'd like to introduce Darlene the Learned.
Thank you, Duke Christopher across land. I am Duchess Darlene the Learned of the Alabama Renaissance Fair, and I'm one of the many volunteers who help make our fair possible. Today, we're going to answer some of the questions that we receive over and over and over again about our fair.
First of all, how long have you been with the fair?
I attended the very first fair in 1987. And then the next year, I was so excited about it, I joined the round table and I became a volunteer. So I have been a part of this fair since the very beginning.
The question is, a lot of people want to know, when is our timeline? When does it start and when does it end?
Okay, now what we have to remember here is that people didn't just wake up and say, oh, it's the Renaissance now. This was a long process over hundreds of years. So our fair has adopted the 1100s through the 1600s, basically 1100 to 1650. Now, we rounded up a little bit because 1066 with the Battle of Hastings marks the Middle Ages, pretty much. And with the death of Shakespeare in the late 1600s, that pretty much ends the English Renaissance. So, what this allows us to do as a fair is we can have pirates, and we can have Vikings,
yes,
and we can do belly dancers and Morris dancers. We can bring in every aspect of what makes going to a Renaissance fair fun. We can do the hardcore history, and we can do the fantasy and the fun elements too.
Right. Now, my next question is, how did it all get started?
Okay, well, Billy Warren was our founder, and he was the curriculum director of the Florence City School System. But before that, he was an English teacher, okay? So he was trying to find ways to create a festival that would bring in teachers and students and the community members, something that would be fun, that would be have an emphasis on learning and education. And what better theme than the Renaissance? The time of learning and exploration and art and music and just all of the excitement of the Renaissance. So Billy Warren, our founder, came up with this idea.
So we're looking at a huge community event for everyone to join in. So how was the first fair? How many people was there? Was it? I know the numbers today. Was it anything like today? Because I was not there.
Well, we have sometimes 30,000 to 40,000 people come through our fair today. But our very first fair, we had 9 vendors. Okay.
Wow.
Card tables, pop-up tents. See, no one told us that we really couldn't do a fair with 3 months warning. So we just jumped in and did it. And we were lucky, though, because we had a Society of Creative Anachronism group, the SCA group. We had a local group come in, and they sort of taught us the ropes a little bit, and they let us borrow their king and queen. So we had sort of a structure based on that. And then, of course, with Billy Warren being in the school system, I was a teacher in the school system myself. We were able to bring students in and teachers in. I remember this so well. We had elementary kids, learn how to juggle scarves. And they did this amazing foot parade through the park, juggling the scarves. And we had this elementary school principal, who lived on a farm. So he brought his goats and his guinea hens and his chickens, and he set up a little impromptu petting zoo. It was marvelous. And the whole community got behind us and supported us.
Wow. I didn't know about all that. Now that was pretty cool to hear. Okay, what about costumes?
Okay. You're talking about whether or not the costumes have to be accurate, you know, have
Exactly.
to have buttons and no zippers. Well, we really want our fair to be educational, Christopher, but we also want people to have fun. And when Shakespeare staged his plays, he did it in the garb of the day. His patrons actually donated costumes, donated their own clothes, in fact, to the king's men. So if you were living in Shakespeare's time and you went to the Globe Theater to see a production of Julius Caesar, the actors aren't going to be wearing togas. They're going to be wearing pantaloons, just like the people in the audience. So one of my favorite productions of Othello was reimagined as a World War II soldier. So, when we show up and we have zippers in our costumes, we're just paying homage to Shakespeare's King's Men, because the idea is to have fun.
Right.
Now, I've seen your costume, and it is amazing.
Thank you.
And it is accurate down to the thread count.
I tried very hard.
So, we love it when our patrons come to the fair decked out in full garb. But if you show up in a tea tunic, we're going to say, welcome, come on in, let's play Renaissance.
I started out going to the fair and went and joined the SCA, which they are very accurate.
They are.
But my first outfit was green, had little daggets. I wanted to be like a Robin Hood. It was so thin, a little gentle wind would blow, and it was up in the face. It was
Right.
hilarious.
And
But you start somewhere, you find out who you want to be, and you slowly work up as the money allows you to.
Exactly. And, I got married at the fair.
Yes.
Not just, I love the fair so much that when my husband proposed, I said, well, the only way I'm going to agree with this is if we just do it at the Renaissance Fair. So I wore this incredible silver and gold brocade hoopalanda that was based on a pattern from 1387. But you know what else? My husband wore a full suit of armor. Now, the true purists, they criticized us because his armor was 15th century.
Right.
And my dress was 14th century. But you know what? I got to marry my knight in shining armor, and not every woman gets to do that.
But you was within that time frame, so it works to me.
It worked fine. We had a good time. And if you want to have your wedding at the Renaissance Fair, we do offer that service.
Yes.
We have so many weddings each year at the fair. Our very first wedding, in fact, was about 2 or 3 years, early on. We had Prince Charming marry Snow White. And it was such a fairy tale. It was just beautiful. And one year we had a wizard marry an artist. And we had a troll marry a fairy. We
Remember
had
that
a
one?
Viking wedding. Do you remember the
Yes.
Viking wedding?
Yes.
That was so much fun. So you can choose, as a couple who want to get married at our fair, you can choose whether you want a private little ceremony or whether you want to invite the whole fair. Now, I wanted to have a private ceremony. My plan was to invite just a very small little group of friends, but you know what? I invited 100 and 300 people showed up, so we just had a good party.
I remember someone just shows up, spur of the moment, they already have the license, wearing street clothes.
And they had a great time.
And they're happy as could be. What about the staff? Does the staff need to wear outfits and the vendors?
Well, we say that costumes are always admired but never required. And that does mean, however, that we want you to dress appropriate for what you're doing at the fair. So our vendors, they need to wear some sort of tunic, some sort of outfit. if they are selling medieval Renaissance goods, they need to look the part. They need to stand out as vendors. Now, some of our volunteers, you know, they wear T-shirts, like I'm wearing one of the T-shirts from 1989. So, you dress according to what you're doing.
I think it looks better, but not required.
Not required at all.
But it makes you feel...
It's always more fun,
right,
isn't it, to be part of it?
And I'm more willing to hand over more cash when they're super dressed up and they play the parts. It just makes you feel at home.
I'm glad you mentioned that because, you know, we have no admission, free parking. So when people come to our fair, they have that disposable income to be able to, you know, if they see a piece of chain that they want, they can buy it. Because they didn't pay $15, $20 a ticket to get in.
Spend that on the vendors.
That's right.
And have fun, and there's good food there too.
Exactly.
And turkey legs. We have turkey legs, guys, and they are great.
And again, we know that's not authentic, but we also know how much fun it is.
And again, fun. Family fun. This is the greatest thing right here. I love it. Now, we had mentioned like the King and Queen and other videos have been there. How are they chosen?
We are very unique about how we choose our King and Queen. We do it at our Renaissance feast. So we do our feast on the third Saturday of October at the Florence Coliseum. And it's actually a fundraiser for us. So we charge $25 a ticket to get in. Before that $25, you get 3 hours of entertainment, and you get a 4-course meal, and then, near the end of the feast, the Lord Harold, Lord William, calls for the choosing. And people come, and you have to be 16 years old or older, and you be willing and have the time and the energy to be part of the fair for a year. So if you want to take a chance to find the coin of the realm, you come forward and we pass out the dessert. And you get a dessert and you open the cookie very carefully, and if you have a hidden coin in your dessert, then you become the next year's monarch. And we do a coronation for you at the following Sunday at the fair. And you are king or queen for the next year.
And I have stood beside a lot of people who's got the coin, so that might be good luck.
That it might be. It might be. We'll find you in line and come stand next to you.
That's right.
Okay.
And you get to sit with your friends, and if you show up and you don't know anyone, those will be your future friends that you just don't know yet. It will happen. Now, what about this rumor I keep hearing? We're going to outgrow the fair. We're getting so big. We need more space. What's going to happen?
This is our 32nd year. 2019 is our 32nd year. And when we were looking for a venue for the very first fair, we looked at Wilson Park, downtown Florence, Alabama. And the reason we chose that park is because it's like the market squares that happened in the Middle Ages. You know, every year in the autumn, there would be these market squares where farmers would come in from the surrounding countryside and they would sell their wares, and people would come out. It would be like a street party for them. They would celebrate the close of the harvest. They would have as much fun as they could before they had to hole up for the winter.
A fall festival.
A fall festival. And it was a time just for rejoicing and fun and celebration. And it was always held right in the center of the town. So what better place to choose than Wilson Park, which is right in the center of downtown Florence. And then, as you know, the years passed, we realized we have just a jewel here in this park, because we have this absolutely wonderful fountain. And, okay, this fountain is on a list that BuzzFeed published a few years ago.
Oh, yeah.
One of the most incredible fountains in the world, or one of the most you know, I'm like, Wilson Park's fountain is on the same list as the Trevi Fountain in Rome? Are you kidding me? But it is.
My father was photographed with his mother in 1940, and I have the picture.
At the Trevi Fountain?
He was there. In the background, you can see the houses in the background.
Wow.
It's really cool to see that.
Well, you know, our park is handicapped accessible. We are close to hotels, in walking distance of hotels, which our vendors love and our entertainers love.
Yes.
There's lots of restaurants around, so that when the park closes, when the fair's over for the day, people can go, the volunteers can go, and the workers can go.
We all go have dinner somewhere and enjoy each other's company.
Have good fellowship together. It supports the town supports the fair. It's a great symbiotic relationship. And again, Florence Parks and Recreation, when they realized that we needed even more power than what we originally had, they redid the park. They added more electricity for us, more outlets for us, so that we really do have everything we need to have an excellent fair. And, you know, every time we look for a different venue, we think, why? Why would we give up the authenticity and the convenience, the easy parking, everything that is offered at Wilson Park?
We still got a little more room. We could push out a little bit if necessary.
You know, and so we have done a little bit of that. We sometimes take over the Florence Library. We come across the street and use the lawn at the Florence Public Library. We go over to the Kennedy Douglas Arts Center and use their area. We have the archery set up over in that part of
I love that section
of the
there.
area. So, you know, we'll just expand into downtown Florence if that's what it takes.
Now, another question is, who came up with the idea and when to rename it Fountain on the Green?
That was suggested at one of the early roundtable meetings. And isn't that a beautiful, sort of almost like a fairyland type name? The fountain is the home of our memorial fleet, and I do want to mention that. Our little handmade wooden boats, they've been carved by one of our volunteers, and they are maintained by another volunteer. And the sails on the little ships are actually hand painted by yet another volunteer. And the kids just absolutely love sailing these wooden boats around the fountain. But what is so significant to us is that when a volunteer of the Round Table passes away, we dedicate a boat to the memory of that person. And so it is the Alabama Renaissance Fair Memorial Fleet. And while it is free to sail the boats, we do not charge for anything like that. Any donations that are offered, we accept those donations and we use them to maintain the fleet.
Okay. We've just about run out of time. As you can see, I have a few more questions, so maybe we could have like a part 2 one day.
I would love that.
That way, because there's a lot more questions to be answered. And thank you for joining us. I appreciate you guys for stay tuned, and please hit the subscribe button and ring the bell. And thank you so much. And go to Facebook if you have any questions, or leave comments, questions here on this page. Thank you so much. See you soon. Bye-bye.